Welcome to Josh's House of Nerd podcast.
Greetings, Nerd Nation. I'm Josh, and I welcome you to the podcast. Grab a cold evergreen goblet of blue milk and make yourself comfortable here at my House of Nerd. Now for tonight's sponsor. Do you have hair? Do you want some of that hair removed in the best way possible? Well, Harry's House of Hair, we can care for all of your hair. From your chest, chin, legs, arms, back, mustache, armpits, back of your hands, fingers, toe hair, knees, back of your knees, neck, ears, nose, palms, nads, and hoo-hoo, butt, and so much more. We do it all. Harry's House of Hair, wherever you have hair, we'll take care of it. Not a sponsor. Go to House of Hair, guys. I'm a patron.
Gross.
That is a traumatizing scene.
They know me by name, you know. I'm like Norm there. All right, for tonight on the podcast, we are still on the topic of rom-coms. This is our last week, and we are talking about Crit's Pick, the 2005 romantic comedy from director Judd Apatow called The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which stars Steve Carell as said virgin that is looking to get lucky and falls in love with the help of his friends, who are Seth Rogen, Romany Malco, and Paul Rudd, and as his love interest, Catherine Keener. Let's talk about that movie, guys. What'd you think? I haven't seen this movie for a long time and stuff like that. Had it been a while since you guys had seen it?
A long time.
Dude, I haven't. I watched it when it came out, and that was about it.
Really?
In high school. Yep.
I did enjoy the movie and stuff. I don't know if I laughed as much as I did. I think I did the first one. Maybe it's because I'm watching the same thing over again, but
No, I would hope it's you've matured, because I don't know, man. Some of the humor in this film is definitely fell deaf on me for sure.
Yeah.
Now, anyways. I think in high school I laughed my freaking head off, though.
yeah. No, I mean, I watched it and I enjoyed it again. It's just a matter of, I just remember, I feel like I remember laughing harder the last time I watched it than this time. And you're right. I definitely have, some of my tastes have changed and possibly, maybe matured. I don't know. Well, that's really, depends on who you talk to of my family or my friends. But overall, I thought this was they still had some very funny scenes. I think Steve Carell does a great job in this. I was going to ask you, Crit, what kind of pulled you to this movie? Like, why was this put onto your list? Was there a reason, or just to let it look good?
It's in kind of one of those awkward comedies, romantic comedies and stuff like that. And I don't know, we haven't had an Apatow comedy on here yet, I don't think.
No, we haven't.
No. And I get kind of the feeling that like this is the same, like just change out subjects and it's basically the same formula. So
like if all of his movies or what?
Sort of, yeah. That's kind of the feeling I have with him. So like in the long run, if we do another one of his, we can compare it back to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's definitely got some laugh out loud moments, but it's about romance in a way, and different people's viewpoints on those, on romantic expectations.
Well, hitting on what you said really quick about Judd's other films, I watched Knocked Up, 2 years after this one came out, and I will say, like, it didn't hit the same way as 40-Year-Old Virgin, and it did feel formulaic. I mean, it just didn't have any of the spark 40-Year-Old Virgin did, and it just seemed to kind of like rehash it. It was just like, okay, Seth Rogen's character. I mean, it felt formulaic. Now, I haven't seen his new series, The King of Staten Island.
Right?
Is that a series or is that a TV show or
a movie?
I can't tell.
It's a movie.
So I haven't seen that yet, so I can't tell if his later works have gotten any better. But that one definitely, wasn't the 40-Year-Old Virgin for sure.
Right. Yeah.
That one's a little hard because it came out during the Rona and stuff like that. So it was kind of hard to, see it a little bit unless you wanted to pay for it on rent it or something which it only has recently come out as a rental. And I've thought about it, but anyways.
Yeah, so that's why it's on the list, is because it's basically probably his, if you like Apatow, like I would think it's one of his better ones. Like
I agree.
From what I've seen so far anyway. And given that, I'd like to get your guys' opinions on it.
I like this movie. I guess I watched it with a different eye this time. And I do like a comment I think you just made, Crit, about kind of the different views of people and how they view relationships, how they view of what's important to them in a relationship. Is it just sex? Is it just is it actually having a connection with somebody? Is it actually like in Steve Carell's point of view of like he says at the very end, I guess I was just waiting for you. Is it that kind of thing? And I thought that's, kind of, I kind of like the dynamic of that, which I don't think I remember seeing or noticing before. I looked at this more last time as more of like a gross out, like, movie and
how foul could the director make it, how foul could the director make it and still be successful almost. And talked about the filming and some of the behind the scenes of it. Because Steve Carell helped Judd write this, they apparently had a secondary script with a lot of the profanity removed because they didn't know how well the studio was going to take to, their original plans.
Right.
So I think that goes along kind of with that feeling.
So did they kind of film
see how sensational we can make it? I don't think they filmed 2 movies. I think they just had a backup script. I think they wrote 2
movies.
That's what I mean.
They just wrote 2 movies. They didn't film 2 movies.
Okay. Because like the reason I asked that is it kind of was Anchorman 2 they did that with. And that's why there's like an super extended cut. And then there's like the normal theatrical cut. And it is significantly different because of this same situation. They were afraid that it was a little too over the top, the actual cut they wanted. So they dumbed it down to a point where, and released that one to the theaters, which actually felt too cut up. And then when you see the actual uncut version, it's like, oh, a lot more makes sense now, So that's always a hard line to ride when you're trying to ride the, the ratings, however they want it to be, because they don't know until they present it to the ratings boards.
Yeah, and the ratings board is very fickle. So
it doesn't feel like there's like a really super strict. It almost feels like it's more of what they feel that day.
We will definitely.
Isn't there a documentary?
Yes, we'll have to do it.
Is there?
There's a There's a documentary called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated," and it is about the MPAA and how they basically try to make themselves out to be, basically
impartial.
After the fact. Well, no, like what they actually do to films is they make themselves after the fact be script writers / producers / everything else, and they're not impartial. They're not picked from a random set of people. They're supposed to represent everyday, like kind of middle America opinions about nudity and sex and violence and, language and stuff like that. But in actuality, they're a bunch of industry people, and they have been for a long time. And so it's a very weird relationship between filmmakers and the MPAA because of that, because there's no, like, you don't know you're going to have an issue till you have an issue, and the ratings they may give make no sense unless you look at some of the patterns around it, which is interesting because you have people in this movie, basically enacting, female orgasms. And that's usually something that'll get you an X rating with the MPAA as opposed to guys. And so like those types of patterns and stuff like that, it usually comes down to how much of a major studio backing you have behind your movie, at least according to that documentary. But, that would be interesting.
Are there bribes and thing too?
I mean, it's out there as a question. I don't think it's out there as kind of proved.
Right.
But again, yeah.
I've always wondered about that because I am still PO'd to this day that The Matrix was R.
Right. Right.
Because I don't feel that it should be. I don't feel like there's hardly anything in there. There's hardly not as that much language. I've heard sometimes more language on TV than I saw in
The Matrix and Gladiator are both films that I'm like, really? This is R?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with my kid watching him, when he's around PG-13 age.
I think this 40-year-old virgin is an R rating.
This is a hard R. Absolutely. Just for some of the things.
I don't know about a hard R. I guess it depends on where you put that line. But I definitely do think it's an R rating.
Mm-hmm.
It's adult material. It's dealing with adult problems,
adult situations,
yeah. So like that makes sense to me. I don't think this movie.
Yeah, I'm not upset about the rating on it.
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely not.
I do think that Apatow kind of takes it too far in some ways. I know the key to comedy is repetition, and it's also kind of like repetition legitimizes. So there's no real mistakes there, but at the same time, I'm not happy through most of the repetition of jokes and stuff in this show, as far as like they just hit on the same themes over and over again.
I agree.
Like the "How I Know You're Gay" jokes, which are basically just Jeff Foxworthy, era
sound bites, basically.
Yeah, sound bites. Yeah,
it's like, what can we
stuck in the middle of it?
What can we throw in the trailer to make it sound good?
Yeah, and it's like so I don't know. It earns its R rating. I think I would give it an R if I was on the thing. But at the same time, I don't know. It's not.
Some of it reminded me, the repetition reminded me of if you ever watched Grandma's Boy. About
no, I haven't seen
video game developer. It's in the same kind of feel of a Judd Apatow film. It's very it's a very exact same feel, kind of formulaic. But they had the same issue where their repetition just got to the point where you're like, this isn't enjoyable. Like maybe to a high schooler, and that's why I sometimes feel like this is definitely a high schooler film, because that repetition might not be picked up on as much and might be hilarious throughout the entire thing. Whereas now it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. That's fun.
I think it depends on the repetition though. And, the stuff they were doing in this one, it did go gold. There's movies like, Python does and things like those that some of the repetition in comedy is awesome and you look forward to it. And some of this just, I think it just kind of depends on the topic that they're specifically repeating or repetition. I mean, hell, I was even trying to do it in the sponsor tonight with all of the list I put out there.
I think it does come down to age, though.
I agree.
When you're a teenager, you haven't experienced obviously as much as an older adult has, and just like how you may appreciate more complex flavors in cuisine or food or something like that later in life because you've had ice cream all your life. It's not as amazing as it used to be when it was a kid, because as a kid, it's the flavors themselves, and it's not so much the experience and stuff like that. You're just like, this is amazing, and it kind of takes up all of your senses. I think
now you want the ice cream. Now you want the ice cream with the balsamic vinegar on it.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Nobody's had that. That makes me sad.
That's okay.
Talking about refined palates.
No, it's a good thing. That means there's still experiences for us to have.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Something to look forward to, or
not.
Look forward to throwing up.
It's really good. You get a chocolate balsamic vinegar over vanilla ice cream, and it's amazing.
Sure.
I would have expected you guys to have.
Fine, John. Sold.
Well, I mean, different cuisines. There's a lot of different stuff out there. Not all of us have tasted all of it yet, John.
But I think your analogy is perfect, Crit. I think it hits on exactly where it falls flat now and why we feel different watching it. I think one of the better examples of that throughout the film is when they're in the Planned Parenthood place, and the one kid with the afro and his dad, like their quips back and forth the whole time. It's like, man, this is. And towards the end, it's like, okay, this is freaking annoying. Like, I don't want to hear about this kid anymore.
Right.
And that's what it was. It just repeated over and over. And it's like, can we move on to something fun? Let's go look at Kat Denning, who I forgot was in this film.
I forgot she was too. I
She
was
is
shocked
so
to see
good.
her.
I'm sad she hasn't. She's fantastic.
I thought she did a great
Even-
job in
even back
WandaVision
then
as of
was-
recent. And
was
I didn't
great.
even know she was in. I forgot. I didn't even know who she was back then. You know.
Well, nobody really did. She was in a couple of things, it looks like, but nothing like really big.
Really shouldn't take off
then,
until
and
Two
then-
Broke Girls. She was that CBS show that she was on, and then of course the Marvel movies. You know.
Mhm.
But, I mean,
And,
most
and I
people
think
know about it.
she's come back now with WandaVision too.
Yeah, and she got high
Where I think
praise
she's
from
gonna
being in
start-
WandaVision.
Well, she's a good actress.
Mhm.
I think she's a very good actress.
Well, I
does
think she even
very
did a good job in this movie, even back then, of playing kind of like the kind of jerky, daughter, that slowly comes around to Steve Carell's character. Thankfully, kind of comes around to him.
And she was born in '86, and this came out in what, 2005?
2005. Yep.
So
You're
Yeah.
doing the math.
I'm trying to. I'm not really good at math off the top of my head. 19? Is that what we're looking at? Maybe. Yeah, something like that. That's close enough. We'll go from there. Somebody can correct it and put it in the show notes.
You mean the comments on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe she's 19.
I was just putting on some airs here. I mean,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
so I will admit, it didn't make me laugh as much as it did, but man, there were still
There's still some parts.
really hilarious parts.
I actually was more.
when
Oh, go ahead. Go. Sorry, I didn't know. I
Well,
thought you
when
were-
Kat Denning was flipping out and having this tantrum, like,
Mhm.
hey, that's a really good tantrum. That was really good writing. Like that was
Mhm.
a legit freak out. I've seen my sisters act like that. But
Me too.
when Steve Carell just deadpans, she sounds like a tea kettle.
Yeah,
lost.
that's great.
I absolutely lost it. His delivery of that line and it was
It's
amazing.
just perfect. Yeah, it's perfect.
It was fantastic. And then the same fight where she's like, "Your sister was the mistake," and it
Yeah.
just like devolved even worse. I like that whole fight. That was gold, and they cut it at the right time. It didn't go on too long. Like it was just great. It was well done.
Yeah, I think there's some real gems throughout this whole movie when it comes to that, because I think sometimes it goes a little overboard and it doesn't hit with us as much as it did when we were younger. But I mean, there's still a lot of talent involved in the movie.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You got Jane Lynch in there for one. Like,
Yeah.
She's so
forgot
good.
Jane Lynch was in there. Now she again, we went a little too far where she's talking about her Bolivian lover, and
Right.
that went on a little too long. But the next time where she talks to him, she's like, where she's like, "Oh, I'm very discreet, but I'll haunt your dreams."
Oh,
It's
Right.
just, like, the creepiest delivery of Jane Lynch I have ever seen since like watching her in like Glee Club or something. It was
Well,
amazing.
The thing that I always get the impression of when it comes to Apatow's films is that they are basically the equivalent of SNL skits
yes.
for the most part. So everything that's in between plot moments where it's just characters, and usually, that type of, those type of lines and deliveries, like probably including the ones we like the tea kettle, the
Mhm.
ones we don't necessarily like the old dude, talking about all the different sex positions and stuff like that. And it's like,
Thanks for bringing
I-
that up. I tried to block that out.
yeah, you're welcome. I swear that they probably filmed many different sets of bits with these comedians
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
let them just kind of ad lib. And then what happens is that this is why it feels formulaic, is because it feels like, okay, you have the plot happening, the script, and then you have an ad lib section, then you have the plot happening, a script, then you have some ad lib, and then you have some plot and some ad lib and some plot. And it's just, and there's like not really any great, like there's no thought in this plot to set up the ad lib, and there's outside of like some places where the ad lib just turned out to be great. Like I said, like an SNL skit, like some SNL skits are wonderful and they stand the test of time, and we go back and watch them over and over again because they're hilarious. And other ones are just like, well, I could see what they were going for, but they didn't quite hit.
Like almost
know?
half of what happened yesterday in Saturday Night Live.
And
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
I think it sucked that they kind of let down the power of a long running film to set up some very good long running jokes. Like I feel like the only long running joke I saw in there that felt kind of hit was like they put the pee up on the pedestal, and I'm just like they said that like over and over throughout the whole film. I was like, okay,
like it's a thing,
not a, and
it's
it
not
wasn't
a thing.
really no, it wasn't, and it wasn't a funny long running joke or anything. There was no good long term setups that had a massive
and yet
payout.
they kept saying it like it was a funny thing, like I should be. I don't know. I know they kept trying to get a reaction out of it every time they'd say it.
I didn't laugh once.
I didn't either. Not on that one.
Yeah, it's just like I said. I don't think that's in the script. I think that's something somebody came up with, and then they kept reincorporating it.
They just ran with it.
Yeah, and they just ran with it. Yeah, because they're like, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen the script for it. Maybe they did write it in, but it felt like one of those things where everyone on set thought it was really funny, you know,
like an inside joke almost.
Yeah, like an inside joke. Like it's a thing that makes them laugh because of the way it's delivered and who's delivering it, and and then they put it in the film, but I don't think it hits with everybody else because it's one of those jokes that you kind of had to be there to make it seem funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and some of the film does feel like it's just Judd Apatow and Steve Carell laughing at lunch or something.
Right.
Like they're having their own conversation and laughing with each other. Like, this would be hilarious. And then, you bring it up to someone, you're like, no, this kind of not great.
You're talking about ad-libbing. I mean, there's a genuinely diamond in the rough scene that, I know it's mostly ad-lib because I've seen things about it, which is the whole scene where he's getting waxed. All of that is ad-libbed. And that's a perfect spot for it. Because
again, it feels like a successful SNL skit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's the thing that I come to realize after watching this one specifically this time is this would have been an SNL movie.
It very well could have been, yes.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, it's they're in the writer room setting up for that week, and they're like, hey, what if we had a skit about a virgin who a 40-year-old who was still a virgin, and his friends are trying to set him up? How awkward and funny would that be? And then they just kind of stretched it out by interspersing other skits in the middle of it and made a movie out of it. This would have been, all of those late 90s SNL movies, if it had been made at that time instead of 2005.
Yeah, like, I was just going to bring up Wayne's World or Night at the Roxbury. Yeah. The worst example of this that just explained a lot of what you just said, Wayne's World 2, because the first one had like a lot of the skits of the SNL and all that stuff, but it was still, cut up, but the skits weren't old yet. You get to the second one and it's just like, oh my hell, it is the same.
Well, I'm also thinking
crap. They're trying to cram into this and there's hardly any story.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of like the less successful SNL movies. Didn't they do one with It's Pat?
It's Pat, yeah.
They did one with
the one where the lady's like sniffing her hands under her armpits. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Superstar.
Like they made a movie with her. Yeah.
The Tim Meadows one where he's the sex guy. Gosh dang it, I own that movie.
Male Gigolo.
I'd have to think about it, but yeah, it's a
Deuce
Tim
Bigelow. Oh man,
no, it's a Tim Meadows character from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, Tim Meadows. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a Wayne's World, and it doesn't feel as bad as some of those, but it kind of fits right there in the middle for me. In the SNL movies, it's like Judd Apatow, basically. Yeah, Ladies Man. So basically, Judd Apatow is making late era SNL movies.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you.
Yeah,
that's the same thing with Anchorman, with the skit plot, like the whole thing. That was it. Talladega Nights, same thing.
Let's just say most of Will Ferrell's movies. We can go. I can't say all of them,
except for the Lego Movie. Lego Movie was different.
Yeah, but I don't think the Lego movie's a Will Ferrell movie.
No, it's not.
That's a cameo,
but it's not.
That's a cameo.
Essentially a cameo. You're right.
I wouldn't say a cameo. He's got a lot of speaking role in there. He's president business,
but it's not a movie about him.
him. Yeah, no,
Right.
It's
you're
not one he wrote or anything like that.
right.
Yeah, it's
It's-
not his movie.
It's not Anchorman with Legos.
Right.
No. Boy. I'm surprised it wasn't actually, but oh my goodness.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's just like there's some funny sound bits to take out. Again, I think one of the other bits that hit just right on when he's at the Planned Parenthood and he's got that model and it kind of breaks apart. And he's like, "This is not a Rubik's cube."
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
His delivery again was just amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact he took
deserves-
that home. Yeah.
Yeah. He deserves all the respect he's gotten as an actor, because I think
Absolutely.
he's just good at that, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and then even more of his serious roles or where he's playing serious, like
Yeah.
what's that one with the van and they're going to a beauty pageant? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Little Miss Sunshine?
Little Miss Sunshine, yeah. Does
Yeah,
a
he was great in
fantastic
that.
job in Little Miss Sunshine. And it's more of a he's not a buffoon in that one.
Right.
But it shows you he can. I'm going to quote a movie he did that was absolutely just phenomenal. He did Foxcatcher.
Oh
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
just that movie. You want to see range on that mother? He has so much. He shows his range in that movie so well.
Yeah, he did really well in that.
And I think it's just unfortunate. Not unfortunate. He's an actor that I think suffered a little bit from being pigeonholed into roles after success in comedies like Judd Apatow films and The Office, where it was hard, at least for me personally, and I can't speak for everyone, but it's kind of hard sometimes to see him playing a serious role because of all of his hilarious stuff. And it's like, it's hard to get over that and break out of that as an actor.
I mean, thankfully, we still get to see him in the Minions movies and the Gru movies, which he's still a part of. You know, he is Gru. So.
The first
Wait.
Despicable Me is amazing.
Yeah, I'm not much of a
I
fan
don't
of
believe
any
the
of
other ones
those.
exist.
The first one was pretty good.
The other ones don't exist. Those are just gone.
They're dead to you.
They're hot garbage to me. And then the freaking Minions out. Oh, yeah, don't get me started. Oh, I forgot Mark Ruffalo was in Foxcatcher too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forgot he was playing
Brother.
opposite Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
He was in the Carell was in the 2008 Crash movie. What was that called?
Big Short?
Yeah, The Big Short.
Yeah.
Which he didn't
He did a
play a
pretty good job
comedic
there.
character at all. Yeah.
No, not at all.
I didn't even know he was in that movie. Huh. And I've yet to see
No,
that
that
movie,
was. I've got that on my radar along with like Wolf of Wall Street with all this, GameStop stuff, and I'm like, let's watch all the.
Okay, those
All
are
the-
two very different movies.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And you got to watch them on opposite end of the spectrum. Well, you got that, and then you got Margin Colors, which is
Yeah,
another
Margin-
one.
Margin Colors wasn't bad. I thought that was pretty good.
But that's definitely more along the lines of The Big Short than it is the
Right.
than Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up while we're talking about this, before we move on from talking about plots and all that stuff with Steve Carell.
Mm-hmm.
What plot? Sorry, go ahead.
There
It's
is
got
a
a plot.
see,
There is, I know.
and that's
I'm
what I
giving
want
a
to
hard
talk
time.
about. We talk about it being an SNL short. Yes, it is, without a doubt. But if you really look hard, there is a sweet story in there about him trying to find out who he is and finding this lady that because honestly, throughout the entire movie, even though all these people are trying to get him to do crazy things, to hook up and all that stuff, the core of that is he knows what he wants, and he's talking to Catherine Keener's, or he's watching her, he's going after her, he finds what he wants and he goes after it, and I think that's a sweet story of how they kind of get together, have a few little difficulties, and then ultimately at the end, come together and I think that story is something that could be easily overlooked with all of the other craziness that's going around on it. Because, when they finally got together, I was rooting for him. I was happy for him, and that I think that's what redeemed kind of the whole entire movie for me I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's that was kind of like the core of it, and at least it had a core, even though a little misguided at times. Well, and that's what redeemed it for me. That whole little kind of thread that kind of went through that.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's adequately executed, simple A plot.
Yeah.
And it's not anything special.
No.
It doesn't have anything really going for it as far as the plot itself. It's you could write this in an afternoon on the back of a napkin.
Without a doubt.
It's not complex, it's not complicated, it's not challenging, it's not, and
it's just a vehicle for this kind of humor.
Yeah, it's white bread meant to carry the rest of the sandwich. It's not. I don't know. I guess I'm hungry tonight because I'm just food analogies.
But without it, the movie wouldn't have existed either.
No, I hear you.
I guess
it kind of strings things together. Yeah,
he just gets lucky at the end, and that's it. I mean, it's not actually a relationship,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm here for the comedy. The romance isn't typically terribly compelling to me as a thing, and I don't have any idea that they're not going to get together at the end of the movie. Like, it's not even there's no drama.
No.
Yeah, there's no drama in the romance, really.
Where you look at Scott Pilgrim and like you could kind of go either way. It's not as cut and dry, and it's definitely more unique.
I actually thought he was going to go back with knives. So I mean,
sorry, I have to go back a week. We'll put this in the show notes too.
Well, you've got a lot of YouTube comments to fill out there.
Yeah. So hey, does Catherine Keener remind anyone else of Mary McDonnell?
I can see where you're coming from a little bit.
Like maybe it's just the hairstyle, because Mary McDonnell had that exact hairstyle in Battlestar Galactica, like the entire season or seasons. But I don't know. She for like a split second, if I'm looking at it and kind of squinting, I'd be like, is that Mary McDonnell and not Catherine Keener? Like for just half a second. Just remind me.
I think Keener makes me think she's taller.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
I don't think I ever thought of the other one.
Well, then I might have to see how tall they are.
I had no idea.
I don't know. I mean, it may not be. That's my impression.
I had no idea about this. Catherine Keener was in Get Out.
So,
she was the
main.
She's the wife.
Lady.
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh, spoilers. Although if you don't know she's the bad lady going into that film, like, yeah. And you're right. Catherine Keener is 2 inches taller than Mary McDonnell.
Okay, well, it's a pure guess. I'm not here tracking the height of actrisses. That's a little.
Well, I am. Somebody has to fact check this podcast.
Now you choose to do it on the height of actresses. It's a little weird.
Nothing else. We're not looking at any other accuracy.
From now on, every time you name an actress, you have to name their height and relatively who they're taller or shorter than.
Yeah, Josh, get on that. Start putting it in the video. Okay. Every time we mention an actress, throw up the height up there.
Oh, jeez.
And we'll start choosing movies based on height.
Oh my goodness.
Movies where the main actress is over 6 feet. It's like 2.
Is that a genre? I guess it is now.
It's my next genre. You better get just kidding. But I think that's all I've got to say on this film, though. I think we hit the main big points of why it just doesn't necessarily work as well anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Even though the only other thing I wanted to say is I still love Paul Rudd. I know he's like the same person like every pretty much does.
Oh, he's Paul Rudd, except for the kid.
But I love Paul Rudd,
disabled kid.
What's that?
Except for that movie where he plays the kid in the wheelchair. I can't remember that. The one with the aliens. They tried to be E.T.
Oh.
Marley? No, not Marley and Me.
Are you thinking? Oh my goodness! You're he was in that really bad that bad knockoff E.T. movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I just can't remember the name.
And every time he does a talk show, he plays a clip from that movie. He doesn't ever play the movie itself. Yeah. I'm looking for it right now.
What it is? It's gonna bug me until I'm.
It is
It's
so
bad. It was
bad.
such a bad movie.
The funny enough, I really enjoyed it when I was a kid.
I
Really?
think a kid would
It's
love
not-
it.
Because it's not as scary as E.T.
As E.T. No.
Yeah.
It's not on his.
Are we sure that he's actually in that movie, or
I
does
don't
he?
think he's
Maybe
in
not.
that movie. I don't
Maybe
think
I'm
he's
thinking
in
of a
the
different
movie.
one.
No,
He
but
just keeps playing it whenever he comes on to
he
whose
plays
talk
it
show?
every talk show.
On Conan.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a Conan.
No, he's played it even on Leno.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind
Fallon.
of his thing.
It is
But
his thing.
he's not in it. That's just him being Paul Rudd.
Yeah, matter of fact, that movie you're talking about is like rated one of the worst movies of all time, especially with its like McDonald's dance scene in it.
Yeah.
Mac and Me. That's
Mac
it.
and Me,
Mac and
that's
Me.
the one. He always plays that one
I
where
thought he
Mac
was
and
in that because
is
I
going
not
down
in
the
that
hill.
movie.
Yeah, he's
No.
not in that movie.
Mac and Me.
It was such a bad film. The first time I watched it, thankfully, I was watching it on the Mystery Science Theater 3000.
It's hilarious on that.
Oh, it's great. Like, that's the way to watch it.
Oh
I
my
feel bad
God.
for the people who made it. Oh man. Okay.
All right, do we want to do ratings? We ready for that?
Yep. Yeah, I'll never watch this with my mother.
Me.
She should never know I watched this. Ever. I'm going to never tell her about this particular podcast episode. I'll say I was absent, and it
Okay.
wasn't me.
Fair enough.
I'm going to put in the comments, John was not here.
John was absent for this episode. Take me off the show notes. Just put dead air every time I'm speaking.
That can be done.
right.
Crit,
I'll-
what was your rating, buddy?
I'll do 10 million out of 20 million follicles removed.
Oh my God.
That had to hurt so bad.
I love that scene right after that happens and he's bleeding through his shirt.
Oh, I know.
That
Oh,
was hilarious. That reminded me of
gag
him in
works.
The Office.
yeah.
In The Office when he's doing the marathon.
Oh,
His
the
nipple
the
chafing.
nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. I laughed pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
That was probably one of my favorite Office episodes too.
It is a good one. I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10 Kelly Clarksons. And if I
All right.
and would I own it? Yeah, I'm not gonna own it
Not Stormy Daniels?
and stuff. Stormy Daniels.
Or maybe she was only in the unrated one.
I was gonna say I don't remember Stormy Daniels.
I don't know if I could recognize Stormy Daniels.
No, I saw it in the trivia thing. It's not like I've
gotcha.
ever seen her. I've seen her in the news with the whole Trump thing, but that was about it.
Sure.
Okay, now we got the rings out of the way. John, you're up
Okay,
with
so-
the 3 movies and the new genre for this next
The
month.
new genre for this month is based on a true story. Now, your films need to be at least loosely based, and I'll let you figure that definition out. But try to see if you can't get them as close to stories as you can in some instances. But feel free to get the loosely based. Just
So
not something that it happened in World War II.
what about
so
Luke
this is
Skywalker
not-
happening to? I mean, that's based on a true story in a galaxy
No.
far,
It was,
far away.
Josh.
You can't prove it. It's
A
not.
long time ago. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Absence of
strange
evidence
brew.
is not evidence of absence.
No strange brew, because that says it's based on a true story, and it's it's definitely not. Strange brew. Okay.
What was the North Korean comedy?
Oh, The Interview
Yeah, The Interview.
with Seth Rogen,
Rogen?
and
It's a
was it?
that's based on
Was it-
on a true fever dream. So
Really?
no, it wasn't.
Wow. I mean, it's a future. It's the future. Okay, so at least loosely based on a true story. In the show notes, has got to say it somewhere, or in the film's descriptions, they've got to at least mention it. It can't be some little bit of trivia that you tack on later. It's got to be kind of a big part of it. So,
And it's got to be a movie, not like a
And it's gotta be a
documentary or something.
I'm open to documentaries. I mean,
Okay.
I think movie might be a better idea, but if you find a documentary that fits that bill, I'm all for it. I'm not too worried as long as it's based on a true story.
Good
That's
with
the only thing.
Okay.
Okay, so my 3 films here. mind making and code. Gosh dang it, I screwed that up. You got to take this out now.
I'll edit it.
Mind making and code breaking. That's
Okay.
number 1. Number 2 is the radio should never lie. Number 3, escaping the normal with Tom, Dick, and Harry.
I think I know what number 1 and number 2 are. So number 3 is a wild card.
I honestly have no idea any of these.
I'm gonna say number 2 because if it's what I think it is, I think it's gonna be a great movie to talk about.
Number 2, the radio should never lie.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to
Josh,
lean
what
on
do you
you,
think?
you on this one, Crit.
Okay. Number
That'll
2
be
it
fine
is
with
then.
me.
Okay.
I didn't have
Number
anything that
1.
really stuck out to me, so.
Number 1, mind breaking and code making. It's A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe.
Oh,
such a
it's
good
not
movie.
Men Stare at
You were
Goats.
thinking the touring.
No, I was thinking Men Stare at Goats.
Oh, that's a really good one too.
And it's based on
That's
a true story.
fantastic
Yes,
one.
it is.
Yeah, that's a fantastic film. No, Russell Crowe. The end of this
Okay.
film makes me bawl every time.
Yeah, Beautiful Mind.
All right, escaping the normal with Tom, Dick, and Harry is The Great Escape
Okay. that
because
makes-
the 3 tunnels were named Tom, Dick, and Harry.
right.
Oh, I
Interesting.
didn't
And
remember
The
that.
Radio Should Never Lie. Good Morning Vietnam.
No, I was way off.
What did you think it was?
What did I think it was? For some reason, I was thinking it was what was the second Cloverfield, which isn't based on a true story, so it wouldn't have been anyway.
The
Don't
second
worry about it.
Cloverfield? 41 Cloverfield Lane,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it wasn't based on a true story. I really
No,
hope
it
not.
wasn't. That's okay.
Terrifying.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I don't
no.
know why I
So,
was
Good
thinking
Morning
about it,
Vietnam
but
with
that's
Robin
what it
Williams.
I
Robin
got to say,
Williams.
it's been at least since the 90s since I've seen this movie.
was. That's been a while.
I don't know if I've actually seen it all the way through, to be honest with you. So
It is fantastic. It's
Hey,
based
now, don't give
loosely
away the
based.
ratings.
No, I'm not giving away ratings. Story is loosely based on the experiences of AFRS radio DJ Adrian Cronauer.
I'm excited about it.
So-
I of course know a lot of key part. I mean, a few key parts, but I couldn't tell you what the whole movie is about. So this will be a
Wow.
good one.
It is a very good one. I think there's a lot of really good discussion on movie, on policy, on all sorts of things. I'm really
And I
excited
think this
for
one
it.
came up in our war movies month too as another choice back then. So
Did it?
I don't think so.
I don't think it did.
Great Escape did.
Great
maybe it was
Escape
Great Escape that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Great Escape was.
You know
one
what
of
I
mine.
might thinking of?
I'll
I
get
actually-
you guys to pick it eventually.
I actually thought about Good Morning Vietnam. That's probably what happened. I think I thought of it as part of my list. Now that I'm thinking about
yeah.
it, anyways.
That makes sense.
I'll get you to pick Great Escape eventually.
Eventually,
This is the I was gonna say second
We'll
time.
come
I
Second
did
time
that.
I've thrown it up there. It's such a good film.
we come back around to romantic comedies again. He's like, The Great Escape.
Oh man.
Um,
Well, let's see
making
what
sure it
genre
goes in there.
wouldn't it fit in right now. It's not a documentary. Dang it.
Good Morning
romantic
Vietnam. All right.
Coming of age?
What's that?
Yeah, I mean maybe.
No.
No.
I watched it when I was coming of age, so you know that counts.
Sci-fi?
It's not-
Alternate history.
yeah, I guess.
Oh man.
Certainly a western
I mean, it did take place in the West.
of somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
somewhere.
I wasn't going to
Isn't
specify.
anywhere, everywhere in the West. I mean, from somewhere.
All right. So, Good
Okay.
Morning Vietnam. Way excited
Good
for
morning.
this film.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, guys. All right. Great topic. For everybody out there, keep your eyes open for new videos coming out. We've got some that we're going to be putting out there and catching up. So, anyways, and thank you for everybody out there for listening to us and supporting our channel. And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper from all of us here at Josh's House of Nerd. Thank you and good night.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe and check out our other nerdy videos.